Hello guys, my name is Jayant Uppal and today I'll be building a basic deep neural network model to predict cryptocurrency prices for future dates based on historical data. So, what is a cryptocurrency? Ever heard of Bitcoin? Yeah, that's an example of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is the future of online currency and traditional trading. Due to the recent development of technology and changes in the market patterns, everyone wants to buy cryptocurrency. And wouldn't that be good? You already know the closing price of any cryptocurrency before the end of the day. You can win a lot of money, you can have a lot of money. So let's start. So my source of data is cryptodatadownload.com. Now you can select an exchange here. I selected Binance, and I have made my model to predict Ethereum closing prices. So I have used the daily data from this website, and if you want, I have added this link in my description. You can go check it out. So let's start by building the model. Now I've already written the code in cells so that I don't have to write, and I'll explain you line by line what does that mean. So let's start. Now first we'll start off by loading all the libraries and dependencies which are required. Now NumPy is required for better array manipulation or better array computations. It is really very fast and really very fast as compared to list data structure. Then pandas is used for manipulating with our data set. Then matplotlib and seaborn are for beautiful visualizations. sklearn, matrix and preprocessing are for various loss calculation and normalization. Then we have used keras, which is an high level API built on TensorFlow, and to build our model. So let's start by reading our model, reading our dataset from the CSV. So here is the pd.read.csv does is read the dataset and converts into form of data frame. Now data frame is like just like a table. We have rows and we have columns. Here is the dataset, and you know where to download dataset from. Then df.head what does is it prints all the top 5 rows of the dataset. Now before understanding the dataset, let's clean it a little bit, and then we'll get into what is the meaning of every column in the dataset. So let's start by since all the stamps are of midnight, like you can see we have dates here, but all the stamps are of midnight, so we have them of no use here. So what we'll do is we'll use the apply function from pandas. Now what it does is it takes a function object, and it returns what the function returns after editing that data. So here what I have did is that I have taken my data attribute, I have taken all that value, and I have splitted that with the using split command, and I have only kept the first part, that is only the date part. So what it does is only keeps the date. Like you can check that now we do not have that time limit because we have all the data from the timestamps from the midnight. Okay, low say then we'll sort our values to get the old ones first, the old ones like from 2018 or 2019, and then so that we can predict the latest ones, the latest as in from April ones. So we sort the data using sort values, and then we sort them on the basis of date. X is 0 means for all the rows, ascending 2 means from descending, it's like basically descending order from max to min. Then in place is able to make all the changes in that data set only. So after we does that, we have the data set in reverse order. Like if you can check, first we had dates from 2021 416 and 415, which is April of 16 2021, which is recent, and then now we have a last date which is 18 of December 2017. So this is not a big data set, but yeah, we can work on it. So then what we do is we plot the data and to understand the data set better. So here it is. Then so here is a plot of Ethereum prices. Let me do full screen. Yeah. So here is a plot of Ethereum prices from December 2017 to April 2021. Now it can be observed that there is a clear dip in prices between December 2017 and July 2018. then prices remain constant with spikes till July 2020 to 2020. Then prices keep on increasing till April 2021 with fluctuations happening in the months of January and February, but it keeps on increases. And this is one of the reasons why I'm predicting prices for Ethereum. Now there is another reasons are it is very secure, it is much more scalable than Bitcoin, and it implements a revolutionary blockchain technology. So let's go. Then we have df.shape gives us the shape of the dataset. Now we have 1216 rows, that is almost we have 3 years of data, and we have 10 columns. Before coming to the columns, let's clean our data set a little bit more. So what we do is we set the index of our data set as a date, so that it is much more readable, as we won't be needing date in predicting our prices. So here it is, we can do that using set index from pandas. Now then we'll be dropping all the columns which are not required in analysis. So let's drop them. Now what drop does is it takes a list of columns or a list of rows and drops them, deletes them from the data set. So access1 means deleted column wise, in place is equal to, you already know that it means that do that in the data set only. It is basically more memory efficient. So our final data set is this. Now let's understand data set. Now close is, it is the market close price for currency for that particular day. High, you can see the high column here, it is the highest price of that currency, higher price of the Ethereum on that particular day. Now low is the lowest price of the currency for that day, and open, it is the market open price, the market open with that Ethereum price on that day. Then volume, ETH, is here we can see is the volume of currency that is being in trade for that day, the volume of ETH, and then same volume has been converted into volume US dollars that is in the trade for that day. Now let's start with data pre-processing. Now what is data pre-processing? It is basically making our data more suitable for our model, or maybe more easier for our model to easier understand the data and predict our results. So basically our model will use previous data to predict the next day's closing price of specific coin. Now LSTM, why LSTM? Okay, we'll come to that later. Now our model requires the input to be into a 3D tensor shape. Now tensor, what is tensor? You can treat tensor as a matrix or matrix of 3 dimension. Okay, so 3D tensor with the shape, batch size, comma window size, comma input dimension. Okay, so we must decide how many previous days it will have to access to. Now again, it's random, but I'll go for 10 days. I'll reorganize the data in a way that a sequence of values in the previous 10 days is used to predict the value at a time t. Now what does that mean is we'll use the previous 10 days values or previous 10 days close values, close prices to predict the next day price. So we build little data frames consisting of 10 consecutive days of data called, now these consecutive frames are called windows. So the first window will consist of 0 to 9th row, as in Python indexing starts from 0 of the training set. Now the second window will be 1 to 10, and it goes on. The advantage, now why we are picking such a small window size, we have an advantage, we have a disadvantage. The advantage is that we can feed more windows into our model. As our data set is small, it is almost 1200 values, 1200 rows, that is, it is approximately 3 years. But so we want our model to train on more data. So if the window size is less, we can feed our model more number of windows. But the disadvantage is that the model will have a hard time detecting the complex long-term behaviors, as in there can be a long-term behavior in prices, and our model it will be hard for the model to understand the data. But we can go with number 10. So what we are doing is we are basically selecting the close column from the data set. Now we are creating an array for windows for target, and length is the length of our window. You can change this length, do it to 5, 10, 20, 100, anyone like, basis of your data set or your model. Now basically I'm looping over the data frame, and what I am doing is I am keeping the uh, first 10 frames or first 10 values of the data set into my x as a array, and then the next value of that frame of that data set into my y. Like I explained, I'll reorganize the data in a way that sequence of values in the previous 10 days. Now I plus length is 10. So previous 10 days previous 10 days is used to predict the value at a time t. So then windows are appended to every x is appended to windows at every window, and our target variable as target values, which is one more than the window, which are appended in target. So then we so now windows and target is just a list. So for more heavy computation or faster computation, we'll convert them into numpy arrays. So np.array or np.array windows targets is converts that list to numpy arrays, and then we'll reshape our target to a single array, so that we can feed that into our model. Now we can predict our window shape and target shape. Now you can see window shape as 1206 into 10. That means we have 1206 values, and we have that 10 window, every value has that 10 windows, and for that each value we have a value of that next day, or of the we have the price for that next price. Now also I am going to squish our price data in a specific range using normalization. Now this will help our optimization algorithm converge faster, since there are a lot of high values in our data set, and deep neural networks involves a lot of computation. Now if we give such big data to our data set, it will be hard for it to calculate. So what we'll do, we'll squish our price range in a specific range. Now the outcome of normalization is to change the values of numerical attributes in the dataset to a common scale without changing differences in the range of values. So for this I have used min-max scaler from sklearn, but it does that for each value. It takes the value, subtracts the minimum value of the data that array from it, and divide by max minus min, so that it gives us a value in a range. So now we will normalize both our input data and our output data. Now we will reshape our windows scaled, so that we can feed it into our model. Now we can see that we have reshaped our feature into this shape. Now this means, now this is our batch size, this is our windows, and this is our input dimensions. Now input dimensions can be more, but I am using only close prices to predict my next close price, or I am using the previous 10 close prices to predict my next close price. You can use more data set, data attributes, columns, and the number of columns you will use, this one will increase for that. You will see that. Now then at last I split the data set into two sets, the train set and the test set, with 80% and 20% respectively. So basically 0.80 means calculate the 80% of the shape of the data set, or the total length of the data set, and then we convert our data into training set and testing set. Now what is a training set and testing set? Now training set is a set which contains data on which model runs or trains from, and then testing set is where our model tests itself, like how well it is performing on a unseen data. Now how well our model is generalized. So it is very easy. We use our windows scaled if you already know what it contains, what is in that numpy array, and we'll use all the columns, but rows we have to use, add 80% of the rows in the training data. So till numtrain, which gives us 80% of that length of the data set, add that values in the training set, and then xtrain and ytrain is the input and output of the training data set. Xtest and ytest is the input and output of the testing data set respectively. So now we have our training set and testing set. So here's a plot of Ethereum prices from December 2017 and April 2021. Now you have already seen this dataset, but we can see our dataset is divided into a training set and testing set. The blue line depicts the training set and the orange line depicts the test set. Now we'll start our building the model. So I'll be using a special case of neural network models known as recurrent neural networks just for this purpose. Now RNNs take the current output from the model as a new input. This process repeats a definite number of times. But one limitation of RNNs is inability of detecting long-term behaviors in a sequence. Now what does that mean and why we are using RNN? Since I have showed you my data set, we have historical data of Ethereum from 18 December to 16 of April of 2021. Now this data is sorted by time and recorded at equal intervals, that is one day. Though now this type of sequence of data is called the time series data. Now time series data is when our data is divided into equal intervals, like here it is divided into one per day. Now when we do time series forecasting, the value of the current time step affects the next one. So the best type of model we can use for this purpose is recurrent neural network, and that is why we are using here recurrent neural network. Now RNNs take the current output RNN sees the current output from the model as a new input. Now this process repeats a definite number of times, but one limitation of RNNs is the inability of detecting long-term behaviors in a sequence. We can handle this situation by using we can handle this situation by using LSTM version of RNN, which stands for long short-term memory, which are a variance of RNN. Okay, so here's the example, or here's a real life example so that you understand why we are using LSTM version of RNN. Now have you ever seen the movie Gajni, where the Amir Khan faced from a disease where he forgets everything after 15 minutes? Now treat that as an RNN. RNN basically have a very short term memory, so it does not adapt to learn long term complex behaviors. So what LSTM does is, which stands for long short term memory, the LSTM behavior is remembering information for long periods of time as compared to our traditional RNNs. Is that giving our Amir Khan from Gajni to have a frame of 30 minutes, like he forgets after every 30 minutes. This is what LSTM does to RNN. Now RNN LSTM works by using special gates to allow each LSTM layer to take information from both previous layers and the current layer. Now the data goes through multiple gates, input gate and output gates, and various activation functions, TANH, etc., and is finally passed through the LSTM cell. Now the main thing to be pointed out is that LSTM can remember important information and at the same time forget irrelevant information, and that's why I think it's a perfect fit for our problem statement, because we can see that for every short interval we have a different pattern. So it will be really good that it learns for that short period and then it learns a new pattern for the next window or for the next interval. So that is why we are using an RNN LSTM model. So now let's build the model. A sequential model is used for stacking all the layers, the input, hidden, output, three basic layers of neural network. The neural network comprises of an LSTM layer followed by the dropout layer, and then followed by the output layer, which is a dense layer. The dense layer means every node from the last layer is connected to the output layer, and units is of output size. And then we are using a linear activation function because we just want to predict price. We don't put any class probabilities, as we are not doing any classification, just want to predict a value. So we will be using a basic linear function for our activation. We'll come to that for every parameter. Now I compiled the model using Adam optimizer and the mean squared error loss function. Why? Let's come to this. Now for the evaluation matrix, I use mean squared error. I think mean squared error is used to check how close estimates are to actual values, It is very basic. For a non-technical audience, it squares the difference from the actual value and predicted value and takes the mean of that. So it will be very good for a data set, for our type of model to calculate the loss. Then I added 20% dropout layer. Now this is our dropout layer, and added dropout of 0.2. Now why I have done this? In order to reduce overfitting of the training data. Now what does overfitting means? Overfitting means the model brilliantly learns our data. Like it learns every point on the data set and fails to generalize. Now what does that mean? It remembers the training data so good that it fails to make good predictions on testing set. That is it is very poor on our testing set, and we don't want that, because we will be performing our training or testing our model on the testing set, because we are predicting for future prices. So we don't want that. We don't want overfitting, and that is why we are adding a dropout layer of 20%. Then the model uses the Adam optimizer as its optimization function. You can tune in with hyperparameters. You can use RMS prop, but I think Adam was the perfect fit for this. Now for the last layer, a dense layer with the linear activation function is used in the model to determine the output of each neuron in the model. Now using the function, we build our model. Now we give our parameters. We give 100 neurons for a start, epochs 20, that for 20 iterations it will train. Batch size for batch size equal 32 means that for each epoch, first 32 windows will first be used for training, then another 32 and another 32, and such that it when till the first epoch is not completed, and that goes on for 20 epochs. Now let's start the training part of the model. The model will be fitted on the training data, which was our X train and Y train from above. Now with a batch size of 32, additionally we'll be using 20 iterations, which I've already told you, and I think which is enough time to adjust its weights and biases in the neural network to fit to the training data. Now I also added a validation split to see how well the model generalizes on unseen data after each epoch. Now what is a validation split? Now there are three sets: a training set, test set, and validation set. Now a validation set is just like a test set during training. Now what does it do? It let's say for an example, we have a data set. We divide our data set into three parts. Now two parts of that will be used for training, and the third part will be used for testing. Now that part is called as validation set. Then another two part will be used for training, and one remaining part will be used for validation. So that at each part of the training or at each iteration of the training, we get to know that how well our model will generalize on testing data set. So we give only 10% of the training data set to the validation set, as we do not have such large data set. So we only give 10% of that to validation set. Now let's do our training, and since our data set is very short, so the training part completes very soon. So we can see the loss at last iteration is this, and the validation loss is this. I think they are very good, and then let's visualize them. Let's visualize how loss changes as the number of epochs increases. You can see there is a huge decrease in loss in training epochs, and then it remains constant after approximately 15th or 10th iteration, and we also have a good minimum loss for our validation sets. Now we can test our model. So the model will be given our testing data. Our testing data is in XTest, and which will data to make predictions on our normalized prices, since the prices were normalized, but we don't want our prices to be in readable format or with a non-technical audience. For that exact price, we don't want the values in 0 or 1 range, So we inverse transform from using min-max scalar, and now the pred contains the and then this is the mean squared error. Now the MSE value, the mean squared error value obtained looks good. Now we'll plot the actual and predicted prices after inverse transformation. Now here we did inverse transformation of our predicted data prices and the original testing prices, so that we can have our values in actual prices. Now this plot represents predicted and actual Ethereum price over time. The predicted values are represented by a red line, and whereas the real values are represented by the blue line. The x-axis represents the time, and the y-axis represents our Ethereum price. Now this part is for this part of the data set. Now we have closely predicted the values of our future prices. Now you can predict the prices of another few dates and make money. So in this tutorial I demonstrated how to predict cryptocurrency prices in or Ethereum prices or any cryptocurrency prices in real time using LSTM neural network. Now you can tune various hyperparameters like any optimizer or loss functions or different epochs or different batch sizes or different window interval, and try different cryptocurrencies like coin, Bitcoin, anyone, and try out different neural networks model for better results. Now what we can also use a bidirectional neural network RNN here, or we can use a CUDNN here. So you can try all of that. For that you can find the complete project with the dataset on my GitHub, and the link is provided in the description. So thank you very much, and I'm open for the feedback in the comments. Thank you.